Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ford, joined by the champion, Carlos Freitas Jr. How's it going, Carlos?
It's going well. I haven't been on in a while. This is weird.
We haven't had a show and we've been a little sporadic. I think it's only right that before we get into our normal shenanigans, we pour out a little bit of liquor for democracy. Obviously we try to have fun here, but with heavy hearts because there was a rough week last week. A lot of horrible things happened in our government, including the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Hopefully, the people who are listening to this hundreds of years later know what Roe versus Wade is, and they also know what America is. But right now, we're in dire straits. And we're hoping that we can turn things around. But if not, if this is the final episode of the Racial Draft Podcast, we're going to try to do our best to make it a good one. Carlos, I don't know if you have any words about the sad state of America.
It's crazy. Knew it was coming for months.
Yeah,
and it still was a gut punch. And I'm not even a person who is capable of becoming pregnant. So I can't even imagine what it's like on the other end of that, because I'm just someone who is mourning for other people's loss of rights.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously I'll never get to that point on this particular issue where my rights personally are being taken away.
Don't worry. I'm sure there will be another opportunity for you to firsthand experience the terror of realizing that the country doesn't believe you have any rights.
Right. Yeah. There will be plenty of time for that. But for tonight, you're absolutely right that any American or anyone in America who can become pregnant, I'm sorry. I know I didn't do it, but it sucks. And
well, I'm definitely sorry as a person who thought we had a constitution that mattered. Someone who used to tell people, "Oh yeah, we're a nation of laws." That's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the lies that I told you.
Yeah, I hope as you were beginning your speech there that I do hope future generations know what Roe v. Wade is and was. And you said, and I hope they know what America is. Honestly, one or the other. If you don't know what Roe v. Wade is, then I really do hope America is a forgotten thing that we just are just going to put away because it failed. It failed.
Yeah.
If we can't create laws and believe that they will last as long as they are granting rights to people, then I don't think that this country deserves much more grace, honestly.
That's fair. And we're going to do an awkward transition from that to what we do every week, which is change the complexion of the comic book universe one draft pick at a time via the Racial Draft. And this week, it's a pretty fun week. Before we get into our normal Racial Draft business and our nerd news, we just want to do some overview stuff because we're coming into the home stretch. We've only got, after this week, we'll only have 6 weeks left in our 4th season. 6 weeks in a 25-week season.
Still anyone's game. It's still up in the air.
Sure. I mean, one might say that you're lapping the field, but I'm not saying that. One might say that.
Sure.
But realistically, I'm listening. A lot of characters still off the board, but that doesn't mean that people can't still score points. If people really got with it, that points could be scored. I'm very liberal. I don't know if you know this with the bonus points. In season 5, I will be even more liberal with the bonus points. We may talk a little bit about season 5 as we go along into our Racial Draft business. But before we do that, we may as well talk about nerd news. There wasn't a ton of it, but we may as well start with some of the cool stuff that we heard, cool and not cool, I guess, regarding Comic-Con, which is happening next month. We got some good news about Marvel Studios will be returning to Comic-Con. They sat it out. Well, the pandemic probably helped with the decision to sit it out, but they'll be back. I'm sure they're going to be presenting a lot of clips and announcements, and I'm sure I'm just going to be raining down the bonus points like so much rain. So much dollar. It'll be a veritable party, of points. But we don't know yet about the specifics. I mean, by that point, Love and Thunder will already be out, so it'll probably be a little bit of victory lap. What else is coming out this year other than is it just Wakanda Forever? Is that the only other Marvel movie dropping this year?
As far as Marvel goes, yes, movie wise.
Obviously, we've got She-Hulk. Anything?
Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
The Thanksgiving special, I think, is also supposed to happen this year.
Is there a is this the Halloween?
Oh, sorry,
one too?
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh,
But Thanksgiving, no, that's a different holiday unless you're a zombie. I guess it's the same thing, But yeah, so the Halloween special, which we still, haven't gotten confirmation about what that's going to be all about.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of news they could drop on us. Obviously, there are people who are speculating about the Fantastic Four, speculating about Blade.
I think I Am Groot might be coming out this year as well. Those shorts.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you've got Groot, good time to get announcements about Groot.
Yeah, if you have Groot,
if one were to have
if one were to get that human tree, it sounds like he's the human tree you want. More on that later.
Oh, you know what? I Am Groot, August 10th. So
yeah. Potentially inside of our scoring period.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, I have to look at it. Scroll all the way at the end of the spreadsheet to find out exactly. No, final week. Final week is the week of the 1st. Oh, so it'll be in the off season.
Will nothing go my way?
It's hard being Carlos out there. None of the breaks.
Right. Yeah.
But we'll transition from that to not DC. Well, DC news, but bigger than DC is the Warner Discovery Comic-Con plans, which does involve a little bit of a scaling back for DC, specifically with regard to the floor. They won't have a presence on the Comic-Con floor, the convention floor itself. And CW, let's pour out a little bit for them. Their shows are not making their way to Comic-Con. So we'll never find out any more information about the Gotham Knights series. But maybe next year we'll find out about Gotham Knights. But but some of the DC stuff we will hear about. DC Warner's theatrical will still do a presentation. So that means that Black Adam, Shazam, DC's League of Super Pets will probably get some kind of nod.
Yeah.
Well, additionally, this is going to tie into a story that we'll probably transition directly into. We'll probably get a little bit from Harley Quinn, because they are going to do this. The new season of Harley Quinn is going to premiere at Comic-Con.
Oh, I like that.
So I don't know if that means it'll premiere for the rest of us, later that week, or they're going to make us wait and people will just be walking around smug, having seen the first 2 episodes of Harley Quinn. Additionally, there's going to be the better Gotham Knights, the Gotham Knights video game, will be getting a panel. And what else? Let's see. Some Adult Swim, Green Lantern's movie, the animated movie, Beware My Power, will also premiere. Nice. At Comic-Con.
Okay.
Teen Titans Go still trucking along, doing their thing.
Legitimately one of the funniest shows on television. It's so good.
And there will be a panel for DC Comics. Remember, those books, those things that you read.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna get a panel on Dark Crisis. Not the way that evangelicals think is what's happening to this country, but it's the story about the Justice League, uh, Death of Justice, we'll call it Dark Crisis. And who knew that Death of Justice would be well, sorry. But yes, we will hear from Jim Lee, and he will talk about the upcoming the fall of DC. DC in the fall. The fall of DC is what's happening with Ezra Miller. I like how the article was like, no panel on the Flash. I'm surprised.
It's because it's all grand jury testimony at this point.
Yeah. Oh man.
DC comes out and says we cannot comment about an ongoing investigation.
Oh man. But even more disappointing is that it will not be a Blue Beetle panel.
That is disappointing.
Yeah, I mean that's still due to come out next year. We will find out whether they stick to it. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention House of the Dragon is definitely getting a presence. The one of the Game of Thrones extended universe shows, the one that's going to be dropping in August, is definitely, I'm sure, going to rule the roost when it comes to coverage, because people hate that show, but they love it.
I think, I honestly think that HBO is not thinking big enough. There should be like sitcoms based in the world of Game of Thrones and like a reality show,
like Upstairs, Downstairs, like one of those things.
I mean, like it could. I don't honestly. It could be like How I Met Your Mother, but it's Game of Thrones style. Like How I Met Your Dothraki Queen. Like it.
Oh, like the Dothraki Bachelor, Dothrachelor.
Absolutely, yes, exactly. I mean, the whole series is basically Survivor. But there's no reason that we can't why are we just remaking more, prestige dramas? Let's pimp this out all the way,
Yeah, I feel like any big brand should do that. They should just like take another show and just put it in the universe.
Yes.
Of,
Marvel's putting out I Am Groot, which appear to be shorts for children with baby Groot. Like I am. What were their names? I Am Rhaegar. What were the names of those dragons?
Look.
Why can't we?
Marvel owns the rights to Disney owns the rights to the Muppets, right?
Yes.
But do they own the rights to Muppet Babies? Because imagine Avengers Muppet Babies.
I'm in. I mean, Avengers Muppet Babies is basically that Spider-Man show that's on Disney Channel. It now has Black Panther and Miles Morales and Kamala Khan, and I think Hulk might be on it as well.
You're right. They're already innovating in that respect. But yeah, maybe Game of Thrones Babies is really the direction.
Game of Thrones Babies. Yes.
Oh man. Oh, that would be amazing.
Like the same theme song like sequence, but it's like a nursery and they're just going through the different.
It's played by xylophone. Yes,
I'm in.
I too am in. Also Sandman, which I need to go back. I used to read Sandman back in the day, back in the 90s, and now might be the time to get right back into it. So we'll see. That's
one that I will need to start. Like I have never read Sandman.
Yeah, it was definitely above my capability when I was reading it, but I was just I was in that mode where it's like smoke a little bit and be like, wow, that's deep, man.
Sandman is like it's kind of like the show The Shield, where like when I'm picking up a new show that I have never seen before that I'm told is a classic, a lot of times it's like, yeah, but I don't have the emotional capital to invest in this, so I'm just going to watch Scrubs now.
Mean, it's a shame because like I watched. I mean, now we're definitely off topic. I watched The Shield when it was on, like from week to week, And it was so frustrating because it was like a little bit ahead of its time with regard to the anti-heroes.
Right.
So when everyone else was like, it's just groundbreaking, it's these shows about, villains that are like the main character, and I was like, yeah, it's called The Shield, guys.
Right.
It's
Right.
like you root for him despite yourself. You think he's a piece of shit, but you're like, oh no, but there's other pieces of shit that you kind of need him to beat,
Right.
and then before you know it, it's like, wait a second, am I rooting for the like virtuous black woman to like not catch him, like so that he can like take down the Lithuanians or whoever like he was trying to take down? It's like, damn, that's not right.
It's always when they like talk about like Breaking Bad or whatever. I'm gonna make you root for the bad guy, bro. We've been doing that, like,
Yeah, but the key is like rooting for the bad guy, but feeling kind of bad about it,
right?
But then again, I'm black, right? Like I feel like certain people root for the bad guy and they don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, as a black man rooting for the white crooked cop does appear to be like that's
yeah, that is a challenge. That is a storytelling challenge.
If they pulled it off, it is nothing short of a miracle, I would say.
Yeah. So listen, we can talk about this offline, but if you want to do The Shield, I've watched it, you haven't, podcast, like I might be on board with that,
Sounds good.
All right, but this is not what we're here for. We're not racially drafting The Shield. But we might be racially drafting Shield, which is would be a weird fun mashup, right? Agents of the Shield.
Michael Chiklis is like, I want nothing to do with anything Marvel. Keep me away from all of it. It's clobbering time.
But speaking of Marvel continuing to win as they do, Doctor Strange 2 debuted on the Disney Plus, as it were. And those of you who didn't want to see it in the theater went ahead and fired up your engine, and those of you who saw it in the theater a couple times or once, said, oh yeah, let's see what they're talking about. And the 5 days from Wednesday to Sunday kind of did numbers, did major numbers. Let me trying to see, because additionally Obi-Wan also did numbers in those 5 days.
Sure.
But yeah, 5-day viewership of 2.1 million, which is more than Shang-Chi, more than Eternals. And I was told by AppleCare that streaming was going to kill theatrical, but maybe not.
I mean, it was smart of Disney to release, to have the finale of Obi-Wan going the same day that they dropped Multiverse on the streamer, because
also the same day as Miss Marvel.
Right. So eyes were coming to it anyway, and they didn't really push that Multiverse of Madness was coming. As Gordy was like, did they just low key drop this? And we're like, no, we've known about it, but they didn't. It wasn't exactly a huge, advertising push.
Well, no, I think this is a really smart strategy because it's actually still in the theaters. Like I just saw that it still made about $2 million, probably more than Morbius. $2 million the last weekend.
Wow.
Okay. So people are still seeing the movie in the theater, obviously not in major numbers. I think what they're doing is really smart, because those of us who are super in the know recognize that the 45-day theatrical window is about a month and a half, which means they don't have to like really hit you over the head with when it's coming to Disney Plus. If you're already regularly on Disney Plus, you'll see, oh yeah, it's dropping next week, or it's dropping in 2 weeks. Or if you're on the internet, you'll see that they'll sort of push it out to you. Right. But if you're part of just like the general casual audience, you'll just look up one day and go, oh, hey, Doctor Strange, that's kind of cool, and either you watched, if you were a hardcore fan, you saw it the first weekend because you couldn't wait. You're not going to wait 45 days if you're a big fan.
Right.
And then the way the word of mouth works, it probably takes, 2 or 3 weeks for people who say, oh, I want to wait till the crowds die down, so they're coming in. They're still far enough away from the 45-day window that they're not going to say, oh, I'll just wait another 3 or 4 weeks till it's on Disney Plus.
Right.
But for sure, if they said in the theaters on May 9th, and on Disney Plus in June,
Right.
like people would be like, oh, really?
Yeah, it's that argument that people made when now a couple of presidents announced exit dates from Afghanistan. They're like, oh, so we know when the Taliban will attack again.
Yeah, it's like, wait, so we could just retreat.
Yep.
Until your pullout date, and then immediately after we're like right back in.
So you're just saying we should chill. Got it.
Got it. Is it because you're being reelected? Is it because it's election year? Are we working together right now?
That's exactly right.
But some guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. I'm gonna look him up. He, in tandem with the movie being released at Disney Plus, wrote a really great article about how America Chavez was not well utilized. We talked about it on the podcast, so whoever it was really inspired by our discussion. So
you should be a fan. Yeah,
you should definitely seek that guy out. He's like on your corner a little bit, but
we'll have words.
Yeah, definitely have words with this guy. But let me find it. The name of the article was America Chavez Deserved Better. I was on agentsofFandom.com's friend of the podcast, Agents of Fandom.
Agents of Fandom.
And the writer, I can't find it. Sorry. But definitely look for this article. America Chavez Deserved Better. It's really well written. Really, hit a lot of points that we've discussed, and just about how as much as we love the character, particularly with the way she's presented in other media, that Marvel could have done a little bit better in terms of how it presented her in Doctor Strange. And we may as well get into it, but how would you like to see Marvel kind of reverse course a little bit and improve upon where they started, which I can agree was very disappointing.
I think that what I would like to see them do is give her some space in a lower stakes project than the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
I the ship has sailed to introduce her in a Miss Marvel style TV show, but there is a chance to kind of grow her out in a Miss Marvel style TV show. It would take some legwork to get her into a family dynamic and to get her into, a street level kind of
sure
project. Yeah. But I just think that that's the way to do it. I think that's the way to grow the character. Because it does feel like she is bound now to become the sorcerer level of whatever the Young Avengers is going to be. And that's just it's just not.
That's not who she is.
That's not who she is. It's just never been. And I hate being that fan who's that's not how she is in the comics. But sometimes the changes they made were not improvements on what was in the comics.
That's the key. Sometimes, it's about being, in my mind, it's about being in dialogue with the different media, right?
Right.
So it's you look at who the character is in the comic, you look at possible ways of adapting that character, and you ask yourself, is this making the character more resonant? Is it making the character deeper and more powerful and relatable for the audience?
Yeah.
And without, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. I think that they chose to try to sand down the character to make it palatable for an audience that doesn't appreciate who America Chavez is and wouldn't appreciate who America Chavez is.
fully agree with that. They made her safe, quote unquote.
And they didn't have to do that. I believe that they didn't have to do that. I
What do
get
you?
why, Disney, major corporation, would do that, but I think that in the long run, it doesn't serve the character.
And that's exactly what that article written by a very handsome man says, is that, like, don't go after Xochitl Gomez for this, because frankly it's pathetic to
Yeah.
go after.
Plus Xochitl Gomez is a delight.
Yeah, like it's pathetic to go after a child for the decisions of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Like, this is not her fault. This,
Yeah.
like, there were other places to bring her in, into the MCU. She could have even been a better version of America Chavez. It's not her fault that she was given nothing to work with, nothing to work off of. So the replies to that article today I have run the gamut from, why do we need to jump up and down and scream about, a 16-year-old being gay? Like, why does that need to be something that gets screamed out at us, on one end, and then on the other end, quote, like, shut your bitch ass up. You expect these characters to come in fully formed, and, like, to both, I would say absolutely not. Like, I don't expect America Chavez to be fully formed. I do expect her to go on some sort of journey. I fully agree. There's room to glow up the powers. There's room to bring her to that spot, that place of being, like, supremely confident in herself.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred it to have happened earlier on in her arc, but there's still room to get there. That's fine. Yeah. But, like, how long did it take us to know that Kamala Khan is Pakistani and likes boys? Like, how long did that take? 20 minutes. Like, how long did it take to know that T'Challa is a prince from Wakanda who has the powers essentially of Captain America? Like how long did any of that take?
Yeah. He wasn't. Yeah, again, he wasn't in his own movie.
Exactly.
He got like 5 minutes of screen time, and everybody was like, "Yo, he's in the trailer." People were like, "Yo, Black Panther is out there killing it."
Right.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because this is a thing that comes up a lot. People want to draw a parallel between America Chavez and Peter Parker, right? I happen to be a huge Spider-Man fan. I happen to be a huge Peter Parker fan. And I fully acknowledge that, as someone who's read that book for, the better part of my life, that there are different versions of Peter Parker and different arcs that he's been through over the course of decades.
Yeah.
So I understand why someone might look at the Tom Holland version of Peter Parker and say, not my Peter Parker. He's not the Spider-Man that I've read in whatever sliver of time you've read that character.
Right.
However, we're not dealing with the most popular character, either 1 or 1A, in the history of comic books. We're not dealing with the household name character that is Spider-Man, where before Tom Holland was brought in, people were like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm kind of sick of Peter Parker. Haven't we seen every single version of the character? Isn't it time to do something new with the character?" Yes, when you want to reinvent a character because you've gotten different versions of the character, you can take risks with that. You can bring that character all the way back down to basics and start them back up and do basically a reboot of the character. This isn't that, though. This is a brand new character that is being introduced to the world.
Yeah. Somebody responded to the tweet that Agents of Fandom put out, for the article, saying that movie was the first time I connected with that character. And they considered the fact that they connected with this character as a positive. But the key is, this was the first time they connected with this character. For a lot of people, this is the first time they've ever heard of this character.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was at a cookout over the weekend, and I was actually sitting with a young Latina lesbian girl who was about 18. Okay, and I was like, "What did you think?" You know, we were talking about Marvel, and she was talking about how she liked Loki, and I was like, "Yeah, are you watching Miss Marvel?" La, la, la. Did you watch Multiverse of Madness? Yeah, it was all right. It's like, what did you think about America Chavez? She's like, yeah, she was okay. It's like, did you know anything about her going in? No. Did you know that she's lesbian? No. I mean, like an 18-year-old lesbian Latino.
Fail.
Like,
That's fail right off the bat.
I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and I hate to be the person. I mean, but we've talked about this offline, so I'll say it again. I hate to be the person that is like, Disney is afraid, Marvel is afraid to make this kind of representation, LGBT representation, out in the forefront. You know, because it costs them money, because it creates controversy. But it costs them money, creates controversy. We know that to be true. So when, because we know that it costs them money and creates controversy, we can guess that there's at least someone in that boardroom that's kind of like, I mean, does she have to be like super gay? Can she be like little less gay? Right. And when you end up in a place where people who should know don't know, it suggests to me that there are voices in the room that are winning out in terms of, going back to what I said, sanding down certain aspects of the character and making her palatable to certain kinds of people at the cost of being, connecting and resonant to other kinds of people.
Yeah, it's just that it's that thing that they've been doing in Hollywood for literally as long as Hollywood, where we're just going to have to pick up on innuendos and hints and, symbolism, rather than just being like, yeah, that character is, by the way, that character's gay. And
yeah.
By the way, and it doesn't affect the story at all, but it is important.
To be fair, she could have just had like one little line.
Yep.
Like, really, she didn't. She didn't have to be like all like looking around and being like, like pride dancing or whatever. Like, right. She could have just been like, yeah. I mean, I like girls. Whatever. Keep moving.
Yep. I mean, like in the Hawkeye show, I know that Kate Bishop is into guys because there is one line where she says Kazi is hot.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I needed. Like, yeah. That's it.
Yeah. And it doesn't even mean, theoretically she could still be bi, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But like, we know that she's attracted or finds that guy attractive.
Exactly. That's it.
But it's, but there are unfortunately people who, the same kind of line, if America Chavez said some hot girl, like, it's banned in like 8 countries.
But like, yeah, and so by removing America Chavez from the regular trappings of a high school student, even you've aged her down. Okay, whatever, you've aged her down. Kamala Khan is only a year older or so, 2 years older. Mm-hmm. But because America Chavez isn't being presented in a high school setting, we're not getting crushes on girls. We're not getting, interactions with bullies. We're not getting any of that. So we miss out on all of that sweet character development. And instead, she's going to be the ward of Camertage because that makes sense.
So here's a weird out of the box suggestion that I sort of just came up with. On the spot.
Okay.
Ms. Marvel season 2. America Chavez transfers to her school.
I mean, listen, there was a reference, I believe, in the last episode 3 of Miss Marvel, to punching holes in the universe. Kamala Khan says something about punching holes in the universe, and my ears perked up. I was like, I know someone who can punch holes in the universe. I know someone who can punch holes in the multiverse. So, I mean, if Multiverse of Madness would have ended with Doctor Strange taking America Chavez back to New York, it would have made even that much more sense. Like, okay, he's going to kind of be her surrogate dad, but she's got to go off into the world and be a kid and figure out how to grow up.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but like, imagine if he would have been like, look, I'll always be here for you, you know, but like, here's a family that you can like, you know, like you can still look for your moms, but like, you know, community is important. And, you know, here's a family of some people that I know. And then that's where you can get your Senor Magico.
Senor Magico has to be there. I mean, like on either the last episode I was on or 2 episodes ago, fully came up with like, get rid of that wedding sequence in the beginning, put in, you know, basically in the comics, Doctor Strange is kind of like the Ghostbusters. Like people have a poltergeist or something, they call Doctor Strange. Have in the beginning of the movie, he's helping a Latino family from Washington Heights or the South Bronx or wherever. And at the end of the movie, you know, oh, thank you for doing this. We owe you so much. Don't mention it. Blah, blah, blah. The end of the movie. Do you really owe me? Because I got, you know, I have this kid. And there you go.
Boom.
Boom. Easy peasy. Yeah. If they cared at all about setting that,
making it a launch, like right, making it a launching pad for America Chavez. Yeah. And it just didn't feel like that's what they were doing.
No, she felt like a MacGuffin. She feels like a walking tesseract, as I said in the article. I mean, as that guy said in the article, she is a star-shaped peg in a hex-shaped hole. It just doesn't work.
So fingers crossed that they will do better. Yes. I mean, because again, Shoti Gomez is a delight.
Yeah.
And I hope that she continues to be a delight, but not just on red carpets.
Every time I see her on a red carpet, I'm like, that's America Chavez. Every single time.
It's weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird how like cool she is when she's not running around like screaming for her life, which again, America Chavez in the comics would never do.
Right. I included an image of Monica Rambeau. Yeah, just being like, this kid is insane, and she knows it.
That image is saved in my phone. But from one young Marvel character to another, hypothetically, we'll say, we got some news about Blade, that they cast the actress Milan Ray, who I have to admit I'm not familiar with her work. I believe she was on, I do not know what she was in. She's 14 years old, so she's in that same old age bracket that they seem to be moving. Oh, she was in she's going to be in, no, sorry. That's
a Disney show, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Yeah, that seems to be the pipeline, right?
But well, we'll find out. Everybody Google it. We'll get it together.
We'll get it. But she's on the Wonder Years, I think, on this reboot of the Wonder Years.
Gotcha. So she was in the Disney family already. But so there's a lot of rumors. There are a lot of rumors that she will be playing Eric Brooks's daughter. Now there was, I think we've talked about this before. The fact that there was a pitched character a few years back called Fallon Gray. But additionally to that, there was very recently I want to say Danny Lore wrote this character. Brianna, we don't know her last name, but we'll say Brianna Brooks, was actually introduced in one of the recent comics. I want to say the X-Men Avengers Free Comic Book Day comic.
Okay.
So in canon, in the comics, Blade has a daughter that he, might be, no, not might be. She's out there fighting vamps. And I want to say New Orleans. No, Atlanta. So, okay. Yeah, sorry, I apologize to the listeners for not having the whole, mythology there, because, but the presumption is that she's going to be playing a key character in this Blade movie, and feels right up in the wheelhouse of of what they could be doing with a Blade movie, to have Blade find out about his daughter, long lost
Sure.
daughter, and mentor her as she becomes Kid Blade, or whatever you want to call Switchblade.
Switchblade. That's exactly what I was going to say.
You know,
Switchblade.
but and maybe she becomes friends with America Chavez. You know,
Yeah.
but
Sure. Why not? I mean, I hope this is leading to all of the kids becoming friends rather than like child civil war. That gets weird.
right. But
Kid Zemo.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But you know, it's always good to have Blade news because it's also black. It's also
Correct.
black. From one movie with vague casting news, to another movie with vague casting news, Emma Roberts was just today cast for the Madam Web Sony movie, of which they continue to cast actors and continue to tell you nothing about the plot of this movie. Will Madam Web be like just this network of female web-based characters? Because right now we are looking at Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, Isabella Merced, and now Emma Roberts. And there are a fair amount of Spider characters. Are they all Madam Web? Is it? I don't know.
The fact that all of the actors who have been announced are women, or I believe all of them identify as women, all of them. That's something. I don't know that I've ever seen that for a comic book movie. So it's interesting. It is an interesting angle. If they were to, put out like this movie has no male characters, I'd be really interested. I'd be really interested to see the women, but Spider-Man. Like I'd really be interested in that.
But I'd also be interested in like, what is this? Because we're definitely off book. Like, we've talked about this before. There's no one cast so far that fits the profile of the comic book Madam Web, unless we're talking about Julia Carpenter.
Right.
Yeah. So we're already in uncharted territory as to what their vision for what Madam Web is. And we didn't talk about this. We didn't plan to talk about this on the docket, but we heard some disturbing news about how they want Craven the Hunter to be an animal rights activist.
Sure.
So when it comes to understanding how these characters might want to be adapted, it's really hard to say that Sony is on the same page as the rest of us. We won't say it's a bad idea because we don't know what the idea is yet. Right. But they're often not on the same page as the rest of us. For all we know, Madam Web could just be like a code name. It could just be like they're just spies, and they wear webs on their shirts. I mean, don't know.
Yeah, some adaptations work, and maybe Craven as an animal rights activist is a cool, take. Zemo isn't a Nazi in the MCU, so I guess like anything is possible.
But he was like, I mean, the Nazi. That's the thing about comic Nazis. If we're being honest, they're like not nearly as scary as real life Nazis.
Yeah, they're not Nazis.
They're Nazis. Like, yeah, I mean, he's still kind of a dick, and he's like, like very haughty, and he's got like old money. Like he's close enough to his comic book version, especially when they brought him into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like he's close enough to his comic version. And and him not being a Nazi helps make him more of an anti-hero than a full bore. It's like we were talking about with the Shield. It's like once you make Vic Mack into a Nazi, you can't really root for him. But
it's like the fact it's not an accident that they gave Zemo the lines about Marvin Gaye and and only in America would being fashion forward, a black man being fashion forward being equated with being a pimp.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
stuff like
that's an
that.
example of where making the comic change makes the character more interesting.
Right, right.
Yeah. So it's so who knows? Maybe Craven the Hunter is actually like he's like fake hunting. He's fake hunting. He's not actually killing the animals and putting them on his putting trophies of them all over his life. He's just rescuing them.
He's
He's
doing
hunt he's
he's
hunt
doing that
rescue.
he's doing that thing that all like uber wealthy rich people's kids do, where they're like, no, 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 by killing this lion, I am protecting the lions. It's like, that never makes sense, Don Jr. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they sold you at the, at the hunting, whatever that is called. Is it a reservation where they, you go and hunt the big game? I don't know what they told you, but like killing an elephant is not saving the elephant. It is in fact killing the elephant, which is the thing that you did.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to Aaron Taylor Johnson for potentially going over 2 in his adaptations.
I have a feeling that what Sony's trying to do, and I don't even think this is original, they're trying to build up to a Suicide Squad-esque, we've talked about this, a secret, a Sinister Six, Suicide Squad type movie, but they need the characters that are going to make up that team to be somebody you're at least rooting for. And so, there's a screenwriting book called Save the Cat. And the reason it's called Save the Cat is because if a character kills the cat, you can't root for that character anymore. Yeah, so Craven becomes a very difficult flex to be like, and you're going to root for the guy who kills all of the large, all of the beautiful endangered species.
But another way of thinking about that is that you could easily make Craven be the threat that makes your other anti-hero characters seem more sympathetic, because who more than like, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, I don't know about this whole Venom thing, like, oh wait, there's a guy that's trying to kill Venom and put him on this wall. Like, well, that's called Predator.
Right. I do think that's what they're going. I think that's what's going to end up happening with Craven, is that like he's going to hunt something bigger than these animals, like something extraterrestrial or something.
But what I'm saying is that if you can make Venom the hero, if you make Craven the villain. You can make Morbius the hero if you make Craven the villain. But if you like, in order to put together this, like, Suicide Six, who's the Suicide Six gonna face?
Yeah, Madam Web.
The twist.
I kind of think that they're by the way, just gonna give us all of the female Spider-Man characters in one movie. Like, I think Emma Roberts is like Gwen Stacy. I think that Isabella Merced is gonna be Aranya. Yeah, I just think that's what they're doing. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is like a Charlie's Angels thing with all the Spider Women's, or maybe Madam Web has to go into the Spider-Verse and pull all of the female characters for different things. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which isn't a terrible idea. It's just convoluted.
I don't think it's a terrible idea, but I think if that was the idea, you should absolutely tell everyone that's exactly what you're doing and let everyone be very excited about it.
Yes. Don't hide the ball on that.
Yeah. Although I will say this, when we found out that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I don't think we didn't know that there were going to be like 8 Spider-Men or 6 Spider-Men in it until the trailer. They were like, I remember being like very worried when I saw the trailer, like, oh no, like this is going to be very crowded, and how are we going to meet all these characters?
Well, part of it was that, like, at first we thought it was just going to be a Miles movie.
Yeah.
And then we were like, it's going to be Miles and Peter. And we're like, oh man, like, is it going to be like Peter featuring Miles? Because that would be lame.
Right.
And then it was like, no, it's just the whole multiverse, the Spider-Verse, like, and it's going to have like all these different spiders. And then we were still like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a Miles story anymore. And they made it a Miles story.
Right.
Right. The difference is the people involved with making that movie are people that we trust.
It's true.
Whereas the people making this movie are people that we don't trust.
Right. That is key. Trust is key.
Yeah. Speaking of trust, Marvel lost the rights to the Conan Trust. Titan Comics they're going to have the Conan license. Conan is the talk show host.
I would love to see King Conan. Give me Savage Avengers led by Conan O'Brien.
But yeah, Conan the Barbarian. Once he finishes his current run, I mean, I think they've already ended the Sword of Conan, so he's going to be picking up in May 2023 with Titan Comics, and there's going to be a whole bunch of graphic novels and comics, and I think actual novels, if I believe, because they're it's IP. So good on them. Good on Titan Comics. Bad on the racial draft because Conan was a big point scorer, but he
was.
I
on the one hand, I'm happy that Marvel lost because score one for the little guy. But how did Marvel lose? Did they just not want to pay?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're Marvel or Disney or whatever, and you're licensing a character, on a certain level, you're not doing as well as you could do if you just had you've got what's a Conan story that a Khazar story couldn't slightly be tweaked into?
Sure.
Yeah. And obviously Conan is a much more popular character, but you could do Savage Avengers with Khazar and people would get used to it fairly quickly.
You could even do Savage Avengers with fucking Thor, you just need a giant kind of ancient feeling royal figure, it was a brute. Thor works,
all universe Thor.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you own that much IP, obviously Conan is very close to a household name. So I understand why they would give it a try, and they probably made good money off of it. But if someone else wants to really, really pay for it, then eventually they hit a price point where Marvel goes, we don't need him.
Right. Yeah.
We can to use a basketball metaphor, it's we don't need Kevin Durant to win a championship. He's we can win a championship with Andrew Wiggins. I mean, go ahead and
have Kevin Durant. We don't need it.
Go ahead and play with Kyrie if you want.
And meanwhile, Boston's we don't need Kyrie to make it to the finals, so we never made it with them before.
Right.
Yeah.
Additionally, we talked about this earlier. Harley Quinn confirmed for July, which is great for the Harley Quinn fans because everyone was just kind of is it happening or what are they doing? What are they doing with Harley Quinn? So yeah, July.
It's interesting that they snuck that up on us. It's only a month out. You're just going to tell us now? Not that.
Well, again, now that we know that they're gonna debut it at Comic-Con, that makes sense. It's it'll be a big deal, and they'll probably pop a big number. Which reminds me, this is probably a good time for me to unleash some bonus points on the Harley Quinn. Just 2 points for the news. It's not a big story, but the show's coming next month.
Yeah. Poison Ivy's on that show.
Yes, she is. but it's not called The Poison Ivy.
That's okay. All right. Is it still called Harley Quinn? It's not called Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy? Damn.
No, it's still called Harley Quinn. I mean, again, I'm sure she'll be on the show.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure she'll be on the show when it drops.
I got to say that this, and I don't know if it's just the COVID speaking, but this Comic-Con feels really throwback. It feels very and they're going to be premiering this thing there, and they're just announcing this stuff there, and it just felt like we just haven't had that in a while. Like
Right.
2019 maybe was the last time that we got that anything close to that, other than these virtual DC.
Uh-oh.
What are those called?
Oh,
Super fandoms.
oh
Me?
yeah,
Am I here?
fandomes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're back.
fandom. Okay.
Are they still giving out fandom right now? Is that still a thing?
If they are, it's toxic fandom.
Toxic fandom. Well, speaking of DC announcements that you queued up perfectly, we want to talk a little bit about the fact that, like, I mean, this is inside baseball for the racial draft a little bit, but also news. The Red Hood and Zatanna are going to get series on Webtoons. We talked a while back about how DC had a partnership with Webtoons, for basically digital comics on the Webtoons platform, trying to reach out to a new audience, and they're doing that with July 11th. Zatanna's getting a series, and August 14th, Red Hood is getting a series on the Webtoons platform. I will announce right now on the podcast that bonus points will be in the offing for the Webtoons characters, not just for the announcement, which I'm about to give right now. Red Hood. I mean, Red Hood happens to.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yeah, Red Hood. Red Hood, who you fleeced again.
Oh,
fleecing Red Hood out of the hands of the Native American delegation. And I will fully admit that there's some problematic elements to Native American Red Hood, right? Like, but as far as a valuable character goes, there was you saw the potential. Just admit it.
I absolutely saw the potential. I don't, honestly, because I haven't seen the scoring, I don't know if what I gave Toriano back was that far off, because he got the Riddler, he got Sabretooth. If I'm not mistaken, like those are, it's a good year to be the Riddler, and Sabretooth had a mini where he was basically Swamp Thing, like evil Swamp Thing.
But to be fair, part of why Red Hood didn't put up the points that he should have put up was because shout out to our friends at the Fantasy Comics League for determining that Red Hood's many books that he's leading, that a couple of them are not in continuity, so he won't get his points.
Wow.
I mean, he's killing zombies right now. He's a popular character.
I think the zombie one is canon, and I think
the zombie one is canon, but the one in the future state one for some reason is not.
Right, for reasons. I will say my daughter reads the Wayne Family Adventures webtoon.
Okay.
And it's crazy because like Alfred is her favorite character in comic books.
That is awesome.
In the Batman, the scene where Alfred is reading the mail in the Batman, she was like, oh no, what's happening? And I was like, this isn't webtoons. Like you're gonna be fine. It's gonna be all right.
But still, Batman. Wait, and Alfred's still on the board, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still on the board. He's got it. Yeah, he's still on the board.
All right. Well.
Yep.
But yeah, like all will be part of that. The Batman, whatever it's called. What's the book called again? The
Batman Wayne Family Adventures. Yeah.
Wayne Family Adventures will be eligible for bonus points in the 5th season of Racial Draft. There'll be a lot of opportunities for bonus points in the next season, because I'm doing whatever I can to try to get folks to do what the spirit of the game is and acquire the best and most high profile and most popular characters for your delegations. I definitely understand trying to be like outside of the box and try to like make cool picks that other people haven't made before. But, on a certain level, you should look at the characters that you've drafted for your delegation, and then look at the characters that you haven't drafted for your delegation and be like, well, obviously, insert delegation X would prefer to have this character than this character. That's going to come up later as we discuss our friends at the Black delegation. Definitely going to come up later. And I think that's it as far as our news.
Okay.
So we are perfect time to dive into our racial draft business, and we'll do that when we come back off after our break. And we're back from our break. So what did you think of the last week? It was a week 7 or 7th round of the racial draft supplemental draft. Just kind of overall, like, how did you feel it went? I mean, I know you were at the tail end of the round. Did you feel like there were some characters that got picked that you had your eye on?
There was one who I did want at the end, who got picked here in this round, who I wanted the first season I was on, who got picked by the same delegation. But I'm trying to remember now. The week's kind of running together on me.
Well, I'll do you a favor, and I'll do the listeners a favor. I will quickly run down the picks for this past week. It started with the Swana Mena delegation as they drafted Bilal Asela, Night Runner. The Polynesian delegation drafted Everett Thomas, aka Sink. The white delegation drafted Helmut Zemo, Baron Zemo. The South Asian delegation drafted Mary McFerrin, aka Titania. The Native American delegation drafted Patrick O'Brien, aka Plastic Man. The multiracial delegation drafted Iris West. The Black delegation drafted Krakoa. The Southeast Asian delegation drafted Swamp Thing. The Jewish delegation drafted Steel. And then the Latinx delegation drafted Nebula.
Yeah, there are some characters in there that I was that I enjoy outside of scoring. So that, yeah, I do like Sink a lot. I really dig that character. I do like Swamp Thing, so Swamp Thing, Krakoa, there's a theme. There's some sort of plant-based theme going on.
This is the vegan week.
I saw somebody, I can't remember, it might have been somebody from New Rockstars tweeted a couple months ago, like, Swamp Thing versus Man Thing, who clears? And I responded with Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy's got them both faded.
Yeah. But yeah, kicking off the round is are you or have you read the Batman Incorporated book at any point?
At some point, sure, but not a through line. I've like picked it up or seen. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a loyal reader of the book. I mean, I may sort of pick it up from time to time, especially now that our boy Ghost Maker has now taken over the book. And it's basically like, hey, what if Batman franchised? Which, that just means instead of having Bruce Wayne in every city, you just have like the Bat brand in every city. And he goes around and gives people Bat clearance and access to the Bat network. And, it's kind of cool idea that I definitely think would be fun in live action. But, there was a Batman in France, in Paris, who was North African. Algerian, I believe, and he's the Night Runner. Does a little parkour, martial arts, that kind of stuff. There's I think he got like a one shot. He's not like a major high profile character, but still, the Swana Mena delegation makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
And 100% approval rating. Gotta love the 100% approval rating.
The only thing I love more than 100% approval rating is 0% approval rating. It's the only thing I love more.
Oh, okay. We shall get to that. We shall get to that. But yes, so I will go ahead and award the 20 points of approval.
Congratulations
to Night Runner.
I think that I've discovered that there are a lot of really great Middle Eastern, North African characters, because all of these characters are defensive picks essentially, right? By
a lot of them, yeah. I
a lot of
mean,
them, like most of them, yeah. And
yeah, I mean, they're characters that I think, should get more love.
mhm.
And, I mean, there's not a lot of reason that that they're going unnoticed, and they offer opportunities to, as we talked before about, like, giving exposure to both the characters themselves and potentially an actor who could, step into the role and get that kind of, exposure. So yeah.
I mean, I'm fully on the record. I know they have Amulet fully been on the record with, like, that is a TV series waiting to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can understand why it hasn't happened yet, because the character doesn't have a lot of story.
Yeah.
But again, back to our, like, Ms. Marvel season 2.
Yeah. If only there was a Muslim character who maybe has some teenage friends and lives in New Jersey. Yeah.
If only.
Yeah. And if only they hadn't, set up maybe another dimension that other beings could come from, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. Let's talk about Everett Thomas. Look, I'm gonna admit my bias right now. There are not a lot of Black mutants. So
Sure.
Polynesian delegation, by all means, go for it. Grab the characters you want to grab. But Sink has had a good year. He was promoted to the X-Men. First of all, he was brought back from the dead. So that's
the ultimate promotion.
Yeah. So, like, listen, as a Black man being brought back from the dead, who wouldn't who wouldn't
Right.
want to go from being a hashtag to an X-Men?
Right.
Like, so Everett Thomas, now he's part of the main book. He's doing cool feats, and maybe one day they'll learn how to draw a hairline on him or something. But
yeah.
Oh, he even had a romance. We forgot about that. He had a little romance, with X-23. So they're giving him a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if, they give him a run as, like, the leader of the X-Men, based on kind of like how he's being positioned in relationship to Cyclops.
I do think he's definitely due for a Nightcrawler level, like, runs a team of some sort on an off X book for sure. That issue where his romance with X-23 is so good. Like, every issue in that run was amazing, but, like, in every issue was like a season of television. That issue spans like 80 years or something, or 100 years, some ridiculous number. It's insane and so good.
Yeah. So all that is to say that kudos to the Polynesian delegation, but it's a tough loss for the Black delegation.
Yeah.
Tough loss for the Black delegation. However, people, we're not having it. We're not having it. 42.9% approval rating for, I mean, technically there's 8 hours left. So by the time you hear this, maybe you've got like a couple seconds left to cast your vote, but not hitting 90% approval.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who's a Black man, I didn't approve. Not at all.
Even if he synced with the culture? Can't even say that with a straight face.
No. He synced my heart. My heart synced into my chest.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough beat for the Black delegation. I've learned over the course of a couple seasons of doing the racial draft, it's a tough spot to be in, trying to, like, figure out, like, who to protect versus who to like, I mean, like, they're like, the Black delegation is in a more tough spot than certain other delegations, because other delegations are like, we've got about like 5 or 6 characters that, like, we definitely want to make sure we keep, and then then everything's wide open. The Black delegation, they could probably fill an entire roster with defensive picks. Um,
Easily. Yes, easily. A
but
competitive roster. Yes.
yeah, but then, then it's not as fun. You're not, like, but hey, that still might be a valid strategy though, because there are characters that you're going to be losing that people are going to be like, what? This is one of ours.
I would say the difference too is that a lot of Black superhero characters are like they become positioned by their respective companies. They become like the symbol for all Blackness.
Mhm.
A few of these characters is like, no, they cannot possibly be separated from being Black. Like Luke Cage, for instance. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. He must be a Black man and be
Hmm.
blackest of Black men.
Yeah.
And he must represent a specific slice of the Black experience in
Mhm.
America. Whereas, even Latin American characters, there are some that like, yeah, they could be Mexican, they could be Argentinian, they could be Brazilian. Doesn't really change this character. There are some that it absolutely changes their character, but
Mhm.
for the most part, it doesn't really matter where a lot of these characters
Yeah.
are from.
And I think one of the disappointing things about like Black characters is that like sometimes it's just enough that they exist when in the eyes of the publishers. So you might recognize, hey, this is a cool character. Maybe that character should get some like storylines or something, you know? And they're like, no, 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 no. We don't give storylines. Like they're just there. That's Luke Cage. He's there. He'll pop up. Like, for instance, like Mayor of New York, Luke Cage, supposedly.
Right.
When's the last time we've seen Mayor of New York, Luke Cage? He's not in a Spider-Man book. Is the Mayor of New York? Maybe he'll show up in the Daredevil book,
I'd imagine.
you know.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's a cool thing that could happen for the character,
Right.
Mayor Luke Cage. But it's been a few months since he became the mayor. Not doing a lot. So that's the balancing act. It's like you have the character, you like the character. People say they want to see the character, but then the character doesn't show up.
Yeah. And it would be interesting if there was like a more prominent Mayor Luke Cage going, just because of like what New York's mayoral situation is right now.
Oh
Like
no!
it's a
Oh
very
no!
it's a very
Oh wow!
it's
Oh,
a
I
very
didn't even think
interesting
about the fact
it's a
that
very
like
interesting
Eric Adams,
juxtaposition.
Eric Adams finding out that Luke Cage is the mayor in this, he's like, that's me.
Eric
Oh,
Adams is essentially a Luke Cage on Netflix villain, is he not? Like,
oh man. Oh, I thought you, he's definitely a Luke Cage on Netflix villain for sure.
yes, yes,
But like
yes.
he's like evil Luke Cage. It's like,
Yeah.
because remember, Luke Cage in Netflix was a cop.
Oh my God. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Jeez.
So I'm trying to say that's where I thought you were taking it.
Oh yeah, no.
He probably also can't what's his name? Dab. He also probably doesn't say the N-word.
I fully believe Eric Adams dabs, says the N-word I think he's Black Mariah, but he's Mayor Black Mariah. That's what he is.
Oh man.
I think he can Dougie. I think he can dab. I think he's got the stanky leg. I think he's got it all.
You might be right. You might be right. But so maybe that's it. Maybe Marvel's like, ooh, oh, we do not want people to make the association of Luke Cage to Eric Adams. We're just gonna like fall back a little bit.
I couldn't have seen it coming.
Exactly. They were like, what? But more, listen, points for your guy. Speaking of characters that are defensive draft picks, Reptile, 100% approval.
Woo!
That's right. Say a little bit about the character. You weren't here last week, so
Reptile is basically a gold mine in the waiting for Marvel whenever they want to bring this character to the other media. He's this teenage kid who can turn into dinosaur parts. He can have the wings of a pterodactyl or the head of a triceratops or whatever. But the more he changes into a dinosaur, like the more of him he turns into a dinosaur, the less control he has over his humanity.
That part I didn't know about.
Yeah. So he can, basically he can go full dinosaur, but it's a Hulk
Then
situation.
Got it. Okay, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably tough to do in live action, but if you were doing an animated series,
I mean, and they've brought Reptile to that aforementioned Spider-Man series, if I'm not mistaken, or he's coming next season, which I do think is kind of like the beginnings of a generation of children will be raised on Reptile.
Reptile push.
The Reptile. It's not even. I was going to make it a Renaissance.
The Reptilisance.
Yeah, but it's really not a Renaissance. He was never.
No,
he was never here to begin with. So
yeah. So keep your eye on Reptile. He might be a draft, a major pick in season 5.
Reptile is definitely a character that there is room for in the MCU for sure, especially if you're doing younger superheroes. There's definitely room for a young high school aged Mexican kid who can turn into dinosaurs. Like, what?
I mean, assume the hardest part, it would be like, again, in live action, like trying to make him look realistic with the CGI.
I would say that,
but in an animated series,
I mean, I would bringing dinosaurs into the MCU seems far-fetched, but life finds a way.
Nice. Speaking of finding a way, the White Delegation, with only 18 hours left, is getting really close to 100% approval rating for White Baron Zemo, which that's correct. That is the correct answer. I have no notes. White Baron Zemo.
It was the only way it could have gone.
Yeah. More picks like this, White Delegation. Like, this is what we want. These are the Caucasians that we want. Caucasians.
They're not the ones we deserve, but they are the ones we're getting over and over and over again.
A little bit more controversial, with still some time for people to cast their votes. This one is definitely from the realm of the TV show.
Okay.
The South Asian delegation. They're going for Titania, who we know is going to appear on the She-Hulk show, played by Jamila Jamil. And we're not 100% sure how it's going to work, but we're open to it, especially people who are fans of the actress. Currently sitting at 85.7% approval, so a little bit short of the threshold, but I would hope, maybe a trailer drops and that pushes people over the top. Maybe not in a day, but Titania is one of those characters. I mean, I did a little reading up on the character. Most of her trappings are that of a white person, but she's not so in the realm of whiteness that she couldn't be something else. There's not a lot of kind of like ethnic markers to the character. She got her powers through Dr. Doom, which is I'm sure is not going to be the direction that they go with. She was just kind of like skinny and unassuming.
Oh, okay.
And and then she decides, no, I want to be more. I want to have more. And she signs up for a thing to get superpowers, and she gets them, and then she becomes a mountain of a woman.
Seems a little Wonder Woman 84, honestly.
Little of that, but she's not, she's not as bad as that. She doesn't make a wish. And then of course she finds true love in the Absorbing Man, and then they, it's a nice little super villain couple. So hopefully they go down that route in the She-Hulk show. That would be kind of cool.
We know very little about the She-Hulk show. I mean, we really do. We've seen like a frame of her, right? And honestly, I was like, this is not the most flattering frame you could have used to reveal this character, but
yeah. But unfortunately, as far as like arch nemesis go, she's probably the closest thing that She-Hulk has to one. So
Yeah.
the hope is that whatever they do with her is going to kind of give her the opportunity to be, to catch on with the audience.
There was a time that Jamila Jamil. Do you watch The Good Place?
I don't. One day I will. I've heard really good things about it.
Okay, so just like her character on the show is named Tahani Al Jamil, and she's got a famous sister. I'm not spoiling like plot here. She's got a famous sister that she tried to live up to her entire life, and now I can't remember the name of the sister, but there was a time that she showed up for like a red carpet event and it was like covered by E, and they had her like Jamil there, and the caption had her like her name was her sister's name from The Good Place. Like, it was not her real name.
Oh no!
It's like even in reality, she can't live up to her fictional sister.
Wow.
Yeah, hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, again, this might be one of those picks that like doesn't do a lot for the South Asian delegation this season, but it's kind of laying the foundation for what is to come for season 5.
Yeah,
but we'll see. It's 6 weeks. Anything can happen in 6 weeks. Moving on is this one surprised me. I got to be honest. The Jewish delegation got themselves 100% approval for Namorita. Which based on the name itself should have been right there for the Latinx delegation. Maybe next season. But I don't. She's just kind of like Namor's cousin.
Yeah, I have cousins named Carlosita. Your name only exists as a function of mine, cousin.
Yeah, so 100% for Jewish Namorita.
Okay.
There's, I mean, I guess.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, or swims under your boat.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Moving on to this one hurt my heart, honestly. I gotta be like, so you family chained through your guy Reptile. You family chained Eva Quintero, who is a character that is doing cool things in Strange Academy.
Yeah.
And only 88% approval.
Right there.
Right there. You'll be happy to know that I'm gonna try to like tweak the approval bonus points in the season, in season 5. I have to figure out the like right formula to reward people for the bonus without like making it like all or nothing. But 88%, that's a tough beat. Like just 1 or 2 votes away from, well, 1 vote really away from getting those bonus points. And again, she's Eva Quintero in the books already. So that's rough.
Reptile's cousin, a very cool Mexican girl who is a sorcerer in training. And where would we need one of those?
Damn, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't really imagine one.
I mean, in all fairness, the character was created for the Voices Comunidades book last year. Sure. So like, whatever. Okay, the timeline didn't work out, but it's right there.
Honestly, I don't know whether the people are ready for a Mexican American sorceress in training. We'll find out if the people can handle that. Hopefully she can do a sling ring. I hear that's very difficult.
It must be, unless you're Filipino or something and had magic in your family. No, it's okay. I've got plot armor. It works.
Right. Well, now I'm gonna roast this pick, and I'm gonna roast this pick, and then you're gonna be good cop. Plastic Man, Patrick Eel O'Brien. Noted pervert,
Yeah.
noted comedic character. Sometimes we don't even really think of him as a DC character. Obviously he's a super well-known character. He had a cartoon. People know Plastic Man. They do. But they don't like Plastic Man, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, he's a stretchy guy that's not Reed Richards. That's like, silly, really silly to the point of, annoying. Ironic that the elongated man actor was not playing Plastic Man, even though he was engaged in Plastic Man behavior.
Interesting, right? That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
But yeah. So again, I get it. Household name, people know him. But like the Native American delegation, that part I don't get. Native American Plastic Man.
I mean, the fantasy analyst in me is saying that Toriano must know that Plastic Man's going to appear in something.
But again,
the DC Super Pets movie or something.
But there's no, I can't see it. I can't see the link. I mean, first of all, until I read the Plastic Man solo, which was a pretty cool book written by Gail, what's the name?
Gail Simone.
Gail Simone, thank you. I didn't know his name was Patrick O'Brien, Eel O'Brien. And it was like really kind of focused on his past as a former criminal.
Okay.
But all that did was like extra hammer home the idea of Plastic Man being the way he is because he just doesn't believe in consequences. And I mean, doesn't believe in consequences. if we're gonna slot a man who doesn't believe in consequences in his proper delegation.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and if there's like one delegation that is very familiar with the consequences of actions, it's whether or not actions done unto them or of their own. Like, yeah, I would say the Native American delegation is not a great fit for the consequence-free man.
Right.
Yeah.
So good luck trying to convince us through maybe a backstory or something that we're wrong. So currently sitting at 66.7% approval with a little over 24 hours to go. But I would try to make a trade, try to see if there's like someone that the white delegation might be willing to part with, because it feels like a better fit. That's another thing that I'm going to be trying to do over the next couple of weeks. Just kind of like gently nudge some trades, because I will give bonus points to, if first of all, when you get, it's a second bite at the apple, right? If you trade a character, you get the opportunity to put that character back into the approval poll, the new character.
Yes.
So if you feel confident that you're going to be receiving a character that's going to get over 90% approval, that's an opportunity to trade for that character.
I mean, it's clearly what I would be doing if I were not so very firmly in first place. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to trade for a character who's got a ton of family relatives, and I'm going to make the trade and do the family chaining.
Yeah. Or again, even if you're not going to try to do the family chaining, just for the goodwill of, this is a character that people are going to want to to vote for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's better than just having that character just sitting around. If he's already gotten your character like 33% approval, you're like, fuck that. I mean,
right.
Trade this character away and see.
Everything must go. Yeah.
See what you get. See what you get. So yeah, I'm gonna try to like maybe advocate for some trades in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But speaking of a character that will not be traded, 100% approval rating for East Asian Mr. Negative.
All right.
Which is a positive outcome.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I voted for that one.
Yeah, because I mean that's a defensive pick, Martin Lee. I mean that's also a character that I'd actually like to see in more things. I mean I know he's in the video game.
Yeah.
I think he's been in. Has he been in that like kids cartoon? Probably not. He's probably a little bit too scary.
Honestly, I'm not even sure who the villains are, or if it's just like, oh, this cat is stuck in a tree. What will Spider-Man do? He needs a whole team to climb the tree.
He's calling his friends. But no, this is definitely. I mean, I know that there have been some rumors that he might show up in the MCU. I actually think he would be a cool character. We talked about this on another episode, but like if they were interested in bringing Cloak and Dagger to the MCU as like friends of Peter Parker, or college age Peter Parker,
yep,
that would be perfect. And then Mr. Negative would be a perfect villain.
Fully agree. Yep.
So, I mean, who knows? Again, also from a diversity standpoint, not a lot of Asian American characters, not a lot of Asian American villains, and he's got a cool power set. I'm sure they could find a way to make him look cool in the MCU.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and
I mean, like the stuff that they're doing in his commercials for Thor: Love and Thunder, where it does feel like the color palette is getting destroyed by gore as well. That's what it looks like, at least. Imagine a Mr. Negative where the negative of it. Oh, that'd be great. The black light version.
Sure. And like, again, I'm not a big gamer, but I think that he's been doing cool stuff in the video games. So that means that's a whole audience of people who are exposed to him through that.
I didn't know he was a comic book character first. I thought he was invented for the video game because I was not familiar with him at all in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a fairly new addition to the comics, but I definitely remember reading about him. But so yeah, Mr. Negative, cool move. Again, got to play to the crowd sometimes. Speaking of playing to the crowds, Black Delegation made some cool moves, and they're gonna get some bonus points right now because they did the family chain. They did the drafting, and then they got the benefit of the family chain. The Starfire family didn't close all of their loops, so they left some family members undrafted.
I see.
So the brother of Starfire, aka Blackfire, aka I believe his name is Ryander. Let's make sure. Yes, Ryander was acquired, and 100% approval. Helped by the fact that in the comics he has been depicted with dreadlocks. He's also been depicted with like straight hair, but
who among us hasn't been depicted with?
Exactly. Pete Wentz. Shout out to Pete Wentz. But yeah, so Darkfire, 100% approval for Starfire's brother. So the Ray J of the Fire family, and
oh boy,
also through family chaining, Starfire's father Myander and mother Luander, also 100% approval rating.
All right.
Shout out. So the Fire family, doing their thing on the bonus points and the family chain. Good on them.
Congratulations to all of them.
For sure. And looks like I did not update my spreadsheet, so that's awkward.
Luander and
Zoolander,
Highlander, Coriander, Anderson Cooper. I'm out of Anders.
That's
Michigander. Someone from
My
Michigan.
my lander, Homelander.
Homelander. Yeah.
Oh man, shout out to the boys. But yeah, shout out to the Black delegation for using the family chaining well.
Yes.
Speaking of potentially using the family chaining well, was the multiracial delegation. They saw that the West family was a little bit muddled because there was a white Wally West and there was a black Wally West. So they went ahead and got multiracial Iris West, who's related to both.
There it is.
Yeah. And currently sitting at 92.3% approval for multiracial Iris West, who played by a multiracial actress in the in that Justice League movie that involved Ezra Miller. Yeah.
Them.
Yes. But she will probably not be returned. Oh, sorry. I believe sorry. My apologies. The actress is, her name is escaping me right now. Kiersey Clemens, I believe.
Yes.
I believe that Kiersey Clemens does use they, them pronouns. So
really?
My apologies across the board.
I didn't know that.
I am remembering it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but Kiersey Clemens, biracial. And so obviously we know what biracial Iris West looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And obviously there's been some interesting depictions in the comics of Iris West where you're like, are you white? Are you maybe a little something? So just that's how you square that circle.
Yep.
People. You make Iris West multiracial so that she can have a white cousin and a black cousin. She got a white Wally West, looks like Michael Jackson. Yeah. So yeah. And family chaining. And this is like, TV show because there's we got some flexibility when it comes to the family chaining. Nora West Allen from the CW show, who is very clearly multiracial because her mother's black and her father's white.
That's how you do it.
That is I've heard that's how you do it.
It's a classic mix right there. Yeah.
So sitting at 100% approval for multiracial Nora West Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right there. So we'll see whether the people continue to agree. I think the people should.
Yep.
So here's where we get controversial. And only controversial for me, apparently, because right now, we'll jump to the line at 100% approval rating. Krakoa for the Black delegation. To which I would say, I don't have a problem with Black Krakoa in principle.
Okay.
Cool idea. We talked about this before. Even a cool backstory for Black Krakoa. I think Native American Krakoa would be even more interesting, because of the whole like land, people like trying to like take advantage of the land,
Sure.
Whatever. But like Black Krakoa, I could see it. Especially like, there's been some depictions of Krakoa where it's got like a little afro going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. However, from like an opportunity cost perspective, if you ask the average Black person, would you rather be, would you rather see yourself in like the branch man, or like some of these characters that are still on the board right now, like Monica Rambeau.
Sure.
Hasn't drafted yet. Joe Malayan, or some of the characters that we're gonna get to in a couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you went to a Black person on the street and said, "Hey, did you know that in the racial draft You guys lost John Stewart, but you got Krakoa. How's it gonna go over?
Yeah. No, I hear it. I hear that. I think that Randy is in a special place right now where he's drafting what he wants, and he wants Krakoa. And listen, if anyone gets that, it's me. I'm here for it. I think Krakoa lends itself to the Native American, Polynesian, Black, and
Polynesian Krakoa is actually like the right answer.
Yeah,
it's really the right answer in every single way.
Yeah, it's pretty much
like Tamati next season, dude. You got to do it.
Yeah. But there are any people that are of the land, and that land being an island. I mean, Gordy could easily come in and be like, Ireland's an island. Krakoa.
Krakoa.
Krakoa kind of sounds like a Gaelic word anyway, like
fair point.
Yeah, it's just a little more CHs and
but he's not gonna, but listen, white Krakoa is not gonna let all those people of color just like hang out on him.
No, not without setting a trap.
yeah. That's the downside.
I will say, you said Monica Rambeau off the board. Monica Rambeau was taken by
me.
Yes. Monica Rambeau.
Yes, Monica Rambeau was spent a lot of time off the board until recently. You're right. Yeah. So fair.
I was like, did I take Maria Rambeau? No, I took Monica.
Yeah. But she was sitting there.
Yep.
Kept looking at it like, what do we? No.
What are we doing here? Yeah.
No, still not. I mean, all right.
Honestly, when Tamati comes back and takes Blue Marvel again, and everyone's like, what are you doing? He's going to be like, what was I supposed to do? He took Krakoa, and everyone's going to be like, oh, the rightful character of the Polynesian people.
Yeah, I mean, trade once again. Sync for Krakoa is a trade that the world needs.
I'm sure that Tamati has more than one Black character as well, even if it wasn't Sync. I'm sure.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look. Let's look at it right now, since we have it in front of us. Is let's talk about. I know the fact that, I mean, it's not so bad that the Polynesian delegation has Colleen Wing, but it's a little rough.
Yeah, I can't look at their I have to scroll back and forth through the spreadsheet. It's a little harder for me to look.
Actually, you know what? This year they didn't really go for the gut. They didn't really, I mean, Sync was the first was the major Black delegation character. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, this year, this year was a little bit more on the East Southeast Asian delegation. Like they lost Cho, they lost what's his name? They lost Colleen Wing, they lost one more Armor. This wasn't a big Black year for the Polynesian delegation.
All right, fair enough. I believe I did see a Danny Moonstar in there as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Danny Moons. Yeah. So I mean, trade. Listen, again, next couple weeks, guys, make your trades, get your points. Make your trades, get your points.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Exactly. And we have reached the not getting points portion of the discussion, where we want to talk about the Native American delegation and their clandestine. 63% approval rating for Native American Destine.
Okay.
Yes. Adam Destine not hitting the threshold. No. Family chaining, just really quickly. Still at 100% for Araco, the twin sibling of Krakoa.
So
points might be happening. The Krakoa siblings, children, clippings, however you want to figure out how the plant family works. They are currently sitting at 66%. That would be Krakoa 2, Krakoa 3, Black Vega, Vega Superior, Krakoa Sinister, 33% approval.
Okay.
But we return to our regularly scheduled Destine cast, 0% approval rating for Nathaniel Destine, 25% approval rating for Walter Destine, 0% approval rating for Albert Destine, 0% approval rating for William Destine, 0% approval rating for Newton Destine, 0% approval rating for Jasmine Destine, 0% approval rating for Florence Destine, 25% approval rating for Maurice Destine, 0% approval rating for Grace Destine, 0% approval rating for Dom Destine, 0% approval rating for Thaddeus Destine, 0% approval rating for Rick Destine, 0% approval rating for Pandora Destine, 0% approval rating for Vincent Destine, 25% approval rating for Lance Destine, 0% approval rating for Rory Destine, 0% approval rating for Sherlock Destine, 0% approval rating for Sebastian Destine, 0% approval for Samantha Destine.
Oh, the buzzer's broken.
0% approval rating for Garth Destine.
Wow.
That is 20 Destines, none of which. Sorry, 21 Destines, actually.
At least they were all in Miss Marvel.
Yeah. No, they weren't.
Oh, they weren't?
No, they weren't. That is the risk you run when you are trying to sort of like chase appearance points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's probably a better way. You could have gotten one really cool character and gotten 20 bonus points for people liking the character.
Yep.
You got 20 characters that put up no points. And it's a lot of spreadsheet work for your boy.
A lot of spreadsheet work. Honestly, I probably would have been like, yeah, can we just wait till Miss Marvel airs and then I'll see if any of this is necessary?
Yeah, I kind of want to be petty and have like somebody like draft like the like character that actually did show up.
I draft Najma Destine. 0 appearances in the comics, 1 appearance on I guess 2 appearances on a television show.
And 20 points.
Yep.
Oh man. But you know, this is what happens when you try to play different strategies.
Mm-hmm.
From 0% to 100% is the South Asian delegation, and Meena Dewan, aka Fast Track, aka the South Asian speedster, who was introduced in the comics in the Rebirth and appeared in live action on the Flash series. So yeah, that's points for the South Asian delegation.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Flash has kind of fallen out of favor in a lot of people's eyes in terms of, you know, still being relevant, still being watchable, but you know, cool character.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the, you know, spoilers for potential spoilers for the Flash, but yeah, in the comics, Fast Track kind of goes like anti-hero / villain, becomes the negative Flash.
Oh,
so we'll see the direction. This one hurts. You know, it shouldn't hurt that much because it's still the white delegation, but it hurts a little bit. You know, Sif We all like Sif.
Yeah.
89% approval rating for white
Right
Sif.
there. Oh,
Right, I know. It's like, listen, of all the Asgardians to be white, Jamie Alexander Sif, we liked her.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would like, honestly, I got to be honest. I think what happened is that he flew too close to the sun. Instead of just focusing on the Sif, tried to family chain Sif's brother, a guy you might know, called Heimdall.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I think what happened is that the people who turned out for the 22% approval rating for White Heimdall were like, oh, Sif too? No. And,
Yeah. Yeah, this is when family chaining goes wrong.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's why you don't always family chain. Sometimes you got to be like, you know what? White Sif, Black Heimdall. It's cool.
Yep.
Don't ask us how. It's Asgardian.
It's a different planet. You don't know their traditions and customs.
Exactly. Speaking of traditions and customs, sure, yeah. The Southeast Asian delegation. This one came right down the pipeline from our girl Charlene. She was like, "I want this character," and I was like, "We can make it happen." The Southeast Asian delegation got themselves Alec Holland, aka Swamp Thing. She just started watching the show. She loves the show.
I see.
And I was like, he's there. He's out there for the taking. So
there was a Swamp Thing series back in the day, right? Like a straight to syndication Swamp Thing series.
Yeah.
I that just hit me that I used to watch that.
I think there was a movie too.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Swamp Thing movie. Maybe there was something that ended up on Sci-Fi a lot or something.
Yeah. I think there was an older movie, like 80s, and then there might have been a show like on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, maybe.
But look, I mean, the thing about Alec Holland, is that there's not a major like ethnic part of his story. Like he's just a dude who fell in love with a girl, and then he died, and then his spirit was reincarnated by swamps and plants.
He's just a boy standing in front of a girl who's actually, he's not a boy, he's a swamp. But he is still standing in front of a girl who doesn't know it's the boy because he's a swamp.
Exactly.
Tale as old as time. Really, when are they going to stop making this story? I'm sick of it.
Yes, exactly. So, we'll see how it plays out. Still currently a little short of the threshold at like 83.3%. But look, I already know some pictures are coming. So
yeah.
So there's going to be some points for the Southeast Asian delegation, and I'm not mad at it. That is called strategery.
Yeah.
So
gotta love a good Swamp Thing.
Exactly.
Swamp Thing was a 1990 series as well as a 1982 movie, and the Swamp Thing series did air on Sci-Fi Channel. God.
Yeah.
Like thanks a lot, brain, for this useless information.
Yeah, I mean that's how my memory clocked it as well, but maybe not the exact. I wouldn't have gotten the exact years. I probably would have assumed it was a little later. But so yes. Oh, we talked about this before. 22% approval rating for White Heimdall, and somewhere out there, the Idris Elba hive is like yes.
Somewhere out there, the Idris Elba hive has got to be like, they really wasted Idris Elba on this character.
Dude, look, the way I see it is if you can recycle Gemma Chan, not even that far away from one another, you can recycle Idris Elba.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I could find the agreement for that, for sure.
Now, granted, he was in a lot. He was in like 4 movies.
Whereas Gemma Chan was a background character in a movie,
and she was color blue.
Yeah, no one like you had to be told Gemma Chan was used twice because you're like, wait, what? She was what? Oh yeah, there was that one character for half a second.
Oh, you see, for me it was the opposite, because I didn't know that Eternals was going to happen, and I was a big Gemma Chan fan. I was like, no, they're not going to waste Gemma Chan, are they? Like, and of course, like Minerva's a character in the comics that exists and has a rivalry with Captain Marvel. I was like, oh, maybe they'll bring her back. Yeah, of course, it's Gemma Chan, but they'll find a way to bring her back. And then they were like, no, we're not, but we'll bring her back in the Eternals. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to pretend that she wasn't in Captain Marvel.
I mean, they do that thing of like using, specifically with the Captain Marvel characters, like some of those Kree were used before in like Guardians. Actually, both of them, right, were used in Guardians.
Well, what's his name was used in Thor 2, I think, right? Why can't I remember that?
Ronan the Accuser?
No, not Ronan. No, the why am I forgetting the?
Not Jimon Hansu's.
Yes, Jimon Hansu.
He's in Guardians.
Yes, of course.
He's the one in the temple at the beginning. Because in What If, he's the one who worships T'Challa.
Yes, he's the one that's like, who?
Yeah,
Star-Lord. Yes.
So like they use those two Kree or two characters from Captain Marvel, but they had been used before. So like there was a world where in a showing us the shadow war between the Kree and the Skrulls that have been going on for generations, where they could have shown us Gemma Chan, but now they never will, because now it'd be like, no, she was the lead in a movie. Like that's not happening anymore.
For sure. And and there's a storyline that's left there to play out. So we'll see how it plays out, though.
Yeah.
This is the Polynesian delegation doing a thing they typically don't do, and that's draft a Polynesian character. And they got 100% approval rating for it. Loa, who's an X-Men character that I am not familiar with at all, but the people approve, and I approve as well.
So I believe she's half Hawaiian, right?
Well, in the comic, she's half Hawaiian, but in the racial draft, she's 100%.
100% Hawaiian.
That is how, exactly, that's how we do it.
She's one half Hawaiian and the other half is also Hawaiian. Boom.
Yeah. Push that Caucasian right out of there.
She's from, one part is from the Big Island. One part is from another island. Love it.
And I believe, oh no, we still got a couple more picks to go. But 100% approval rating for, we talked about this last week. Not my first choice, but I fully understand and approve. And Sabanur, aka Apocalypse.
Nice.
Drafted by the Swana Mena delegation. So we have ourselves a North African.
Yep.
In Apocalypse. Obviously I'd be willing to fudge him being, just a like plain African, Black African, but I'm not opposed to, Swana Apocalypse, and the people 100% approval rating for it. So they were here for it.
There are a few like really like, I think, interesting possibilities for Apocalypse. Like I do think, Black Apocalypse, Swanamina Apocalypse, Jewish Apocalypse would be a possibility. Like
See the problem with Jewish Apocalypse, because I've really tried to think about it. Like Apocalypse's entire worldview, this whole survival of the fittest thing, is like inherently genocidal.
That is correct.
And we kind of already have the
genocidal Jewish mutant. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, yeah, it's not, it even goes like beyond genocidal too. It's also like eugenic.
Yeah.
There's, it's a little ugly for sure.
Yeah. I mean, at least with Apocalypse, being like ancient, it's kind of like, well, I mean, but life started in Africa, so
Right.
like I'm just trying to bring it back to where it used to be, like, you know, before all of the genome just diverged.
But in terms of
Mhm.
like, in terms of, you know, who was in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, you know, the Jews were there, you know, like that's why I'm saying that there's a possibility there. I mean,
No, no,
imagine,
I mean, I get that part. I
yeah,
just think that from like a like modern resonance perspective, like, you know, we've talked about this before in other episodes of the podcast. Like Hotep Apocalypse is just like he just like
yes.
looks at black people of today and he's like, what happened? Like we were literally kings. Like I was there. We were like,
Yeah, yeah. I, you know, like definitely direct a hate mail at me, but like, what was burying the Pharaoh's soldiers in the Red Sea if not a genocide? You know,
okay.
it was just like, and all of you gone. And I'm,
I
by the
mean,
way, I've also
I
killed your
mean that was.
firstborn.
I
And
mean, that's you could say it's liberation too, though. It's like, you know,
absolutely,
militant liberation, you know,
absolutely,
which
absolutely.
again is like, you know, again, if you want to do Middle Eastern apocalypse, it's just that you have to deal with, you know, the hatred from Islamophobics, right? You know, like it's like you could do it for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's just people that's like, I knew it, I knew there was an agenda,
I
you
mean,
know.
there's been a sort of not a you know, a washing of Apocalypse's image or anything, but they have made him a more like noble character in the Krakoa era.
Yes,
And so there,
which is a weird flex, I gotta admit.
it really is. And that's when we were talking before a couple weeks ago about how it'd be really hard to introduce the X-Men in the Krakoa era in the MCU because
Mhm.
what the Krakoa books are doing is subverting
Sure.
generations of X-Men books and relationships. And so it would lose the irony of certain
Right.
team ups or relationships or whatever. Um, but there is a certain yeah, they're making Apocalypse much less of a villain and more of like kind of actually what they did to Thanos in the MCU, where it's like, yeah, villain, but like I definitely understand his reasoning more than I'm in love with death
Hmm.
and I'm just here to conquer because I conquer.
Yeah.
You
But I
know,
just, but one of the problems I have with like what they did to Apocalypse in the current like era of the X-Men stories, they kind of made him a little bit too close to um Magneto in terms of it's like, well, I just did what I did, you know, for my people,
right?
you know, where it's like I feel like you could squint a little bit and understand it from like a Magneto perspective, but when you're like the ancient mutant who preceded all the other mutants, like no, you were in a position to shape what mutants were going to be, and this is the direction that you decided to take it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like you're not a put upon minority, you know,
Right.
like you wanted to see how it played out.
Yeah.
Like you like it's and that's totally fine. Like you if you wanted to basically be like, no, I wanted to see how far human evolution could go, and you know, and I don't really care about the weak. That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why we have anti-heroes.
I will say, the early days of the Hickman run, of X-Men, there was that one issue where the kind of like I think it's Magneto, Cyclops, you know, they all go
Charles
to
Xavier,
they
they
go to
go to
like the
like the
summit.
G5 or whatever.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And the exchange at that dinner table where it's like,
Oh,
who
that was
cares what caused the end of the Bronze Age? And Apocalypse is like, I was alive then. I know what caused what caused it. Oh, and pray tell, what was it? Me. It's like,
me.
oh shit! Like flip the table, walk out. Like that's
Yeah, like
amazing.
listen, Apocalypse has always had bars.
Yeah.
And again, this is why I go back to why I hate the Fox X-Men movies, because he was their Thanos.
Yes. Yeah.
He is the Thanos of the X-Men world. And they had the opportunity to present a character that could be that iconic. And we all love Oscar Isaac, but they didn't give him anything to work with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I remember even as a kid who didn't really know X-Men beyond the cartoon and like Jim Lee comics that I did not understand, but the girls looked pretty. I was like, Psylocke, yes, I am heterosexual, it turns out. But I remember playing with the action figures and like having Apocalypse and just being like, how do you beat that? Like he's like he's like part of a kind of a robot, but he's also 50 feet tall if he wants to be. And like he has all of like the powers and he's as old as dirt. And so he's wiser than all of them. How do you beat that guy? And always feeling that until I saw that Age of Apocalypse movie and being like, you give him a bad script. That's how you beat it.
Yeah, exactly.
You bore everyone to death.
So yeah, pour one out for Apocalypse for not living up to his reputation in like every other medium. Even video games made Apocalypse like intimidating as hell.
Apocalypse is so cool. It's just one of the coolest looking characters. And then yeah, Oscar Isaac also just wasn't doing the look any favors. He just wasn't. It looked like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But moving on, we did talk about Jewish Apocalypse, but the Jewish delegation made it somewhat controversial pick, I would say. And as a Black person, I would definitely say this. John Henry Irons, aka Steel,
interesting,
aka the superhero that is both a hey, what if Superman were Black, but also what if he were somehow playing out the John Henry man against the machine myth, but Jewish?
Yeah,
that's a tough one. I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure the Jewish delegation would say he can be any race and also be Jewish. But by the parameters of what we do at the racial draft, when you draft a character to your delegation, what you're saying is that primarily this character identifies as one thing versus another thing. And it's too much to say that John Henry Irons wouldn't identify as a Black man first.
Yeah,
that's the tough part. That's the tough part. It's not to say that he couldn't be Black and Jewish, but to say that he would be, no, I'm Jewish first. I feel like he would have chosen a different name. He would have chosen different iconography, carrying around the sledgehammer, which signifies John Henry against the machine. It's just doesn't quite square to me.
Yeah, he'd have to be like not have to be, but a Black Hebrew Israelite, yeah.
I feel like the multiracial delegation could get away with it because they could be like, he identifies with both equally.
Mm-hmm.
But
sure.
But identifying with Jewish primarily, that's where things get a little dicey.
Yeah. I mean, it's the primarily is the word that's doing the work, because there are people, obviously there are Black Jews, and and there are some who, there are sects who believe that not only are they Black Jews, but they are Black descendants of Israelites, and so their Blackness and their Jewishness is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be kind of where you have to circle the square.
That person probably doesn't name himself John Henry. That person probably names himself, something more biblical.
I mean, sure. Sure.
Like, granted, he didn't name himself John Henry. Obviously his parents named him John Henry, but
sure. I don't know. I think that if I'm not mistaken, and I'll have to Wikipedia this, but I'm pretty sure that like Sean Stockman of Boys to Men is a Black Hebrew Israelite. So, but also Amari Stoudemire is like so it goes both ways. Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Maybe the Amari Stoudemire is the way to go, right? Maybe that's how it works, right? He's like
he was Shaq before, but now it's Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah. Like he grew up as John Henry Irons, right? He was like hardcore Black, right? And then he discovered his Asian roots. He did a pilgrimage. He just went hardcore, and like and that's why he identifies primarily as Jewish, because he discovered it later in life.
And then he threw a what's the apostrophe in the middle of John Henry Irons.
And the S says it's just the star now. It's the Star of David.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how you square the circle. He's a recent convert. He recently discovered his Jewish roots.
There he is.
And now, so he's Jamari Stoudemire.
Yep. That makes sense. There it is. Jamari Stoudemire.
John Hamari Stoudemires.
Stoudemires. Yep.
There we go. We figured it out.
We did it.
And that brings us to the end of the round. Your gal, Nebula. Talk about it.
I had been circling Nebula for a couple weeks, and honestly, I was giving other teams a chance to draft a character who's going to be in Thor.
Fair.
And they didn't take her, but I was going to just kind of the idea that the daughters of
Thanos.
Yes, she's a daughter of Thanos, but just like tying it to this Latin American, I guess tradition is the word, of like daughters who just like do not appear to get the approval of their parents, of their, like, it's just like, just always struggling for that approval. There have been many books written on this topic and many Latina women in therapy because of it. And just this, this idea that Nebula is that, like, she's always, it's obviously a sibling rivalry, but it's also like an approval of her father that she wants, even though her father is abusive, right? And obviously abuse is not a Latin American tradition. It's that's not what I'm saying, but the idea that she always wants her father's approval and she's never going to get it, just spoke to me. And then this last week happened, and I was like, all right, I'm not waiting anymore for anyone else to take her, because Nebula is also a character who, she's a woman who rose up and fought against the patriarchal fascist dictator who literally had taken her bodily autonomy away. Like, she is half machine because her father keeps tinkering with her body without her will. So it just, like, that, the strength in that character, despite the trauma in that character, spoke to me, and I just, decided not to let anyone else, to stop waiting for everyone else to take her and take her myself.
Okay. So I mean, I'm obviously what you said was really poignant and really resonant for what's like happening in the world right now. And I hate to like turn it back into like a comic book thing, but I'm going to do that.
Go for it.
So what kind of like Latina did you envision for Nebula though?
So it's definitely that thing of like, now that I've seen her with blonde hair in What If, oh, she's definitely like a New York Dominican. Got it. Like she's the Cardi B Latina and all.
Got it. Yeah, because I didn't know if you wanted to go like like South American, like to talk going back to like the fascism like thing or whatever, like, and obviously like even though she's blue, right, whatever, like features wise, there's a lot of like flexibility in
There
terms
definitely
of,
is.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we need to go that far to find the fascism anymore. So,
Fair point.
Colombia just elected their first leftist leader ever. So, you know, I don't know. I think the fascism's a lot closer than that now. But yeah, I think
fascism was coming from inside of the house. I believe is what we're.
yeah. So yeah, I think. Oh man, Cardi B as Nebula is.
Oh man, that is.
That's
I mean,
choice.
I listen. I gotta somewhat object because I'm not sure Thanos was giving her the cakes that that she'd be required to you know to be Cardi Nebula.
That is facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of
Yeah.
homing satellite in there somewhere.
I feel like this is more of like a Jessica Alba situation where like she started out curvy and then circumstances just kept taking it away from her.
Yeah. She started out as Cardi and now she's Jessica Alba.
Right.
What?
Yes. That feels of a piece with
that's like a Khloe Kardashian level transformation where it's like that's not even the same human being that I'm looking at. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the Kardashian in reverse. Is what happened.
Which by the way, the Kardashians are in full effect, removing all of the Brazilian butt lifts and watch.
I missed that. Yeah.
Watch, they're trimming down because now it's a. Anybody can get a Brazilian butt lift, so they're no longer exclusive. So now we're going to go back to eating disorder chic for the
back to factory settings.
Exactly right. The 90s are back in so many ways.
So, I mean, I feel it. I do have some questions. I mean, I'm not going to like force your hand or whatever. Actually, I am going to force your hand because it is 8th round time, and I'm gonna get kicked off the 8th round of the supplemental draft. I hope you got a pick in mind.
I do. This guy is actually here's a story that leads to this. Today my car, the battery light turned on as I was driving and I was pretty far from home. I was like, oh no, my battery's not going to make it all the way home. And apparently my alternator is dead. And so I drove to an AutoZone, and I was in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood in Chicago. And I was at AutoZone. And I was like, hey, I just need to buy a battery that's just going to get me home. Basically, I'm going to spend $150 to get home because I was about 45 minutes away from home and my battery wasn't going to make it. And they're like, yeah, we could do it, but like, I don't know how far it's going to necessarily take you. There was a line of Mexican mechanics at the AutoZone, and one of them was just like, I'll take a look at your car. And then he changed my alternator in the parking lot of an AutoZone. I was like, that's amazing. I could never have possibly done that. And with that, I give you a very greasy hand, blue collar, mechanically adept character who will be in a movie this week. His name is Kraglin, and he is one of the guardians of said galaxy. And I'm taking the points and I'm linking them to the Mexican mechanics everywhere who are also just a little bit pirate. Let's be real.
I mean, I gotta say, I mean, I love the story. Points for the story, not actual points for the story.
Not actual points for the story.
Yeah. But like, as the person that's the major front runner, you didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to do that.
And I'm gonna now I'm gonna have to do it. I've been trying not to do it. I've been trying to not do it. I'm gonna call you out. I am gonna call you out.
Call me out.
There is a very, very available Latino character.
Okay.
That's been sitting there for all of the rounds of the entirety of this draft who has a film that not coming out in our definitely not coming out in our season. I get it.
Okay.
But news continues to spill out about him. The actor is out there, is probably perfectly willing to talk about how awesome his character is.
Yeah.
Actually, given the stuff that we saw going around on social media, probably loving the idea of Latinos in DC. And you went ahead and drafted his mentor.
I sure did, didn't I?
And did not draft him.
That's true. That is correct.
That is a tough look.
How many? I'm sorry. How many weeks did you say there are in this draft?
I mean, there are 6 weeks left. Well, 5 weeks now after this pick. So there's time. There is time, but I mean, you went ahead and picked Craglet.
Yeah. And if I had another pick, I'd take Rocket Raccoon.
Like your other, no, we've already established the only people who can draft.
Enough said.
I'm just saying,
Clarence Thomas.
You didn't need the points.
I didn't need the points.
You didn't need the points.
I didn't need the points.
This was if there was ever a time for a for the culture pick.
I mean, okay, but can you have my supplemental picks handy by any chance, like by my team? Because I can't like collapse your spreadsheet, so like it's harder for me to scroll from one side to the other.
Yeah.
But if you look at the sub picks, I think you will find pretty defensive overall.
Yeah. Fair. I mean,
I believe I draft America Chavez's sister.
That was solid.
Who is not in anything. She's not getting any points. Yeah. Jessica Cruz.
Yeah.
White Tiger.
Yeah, but you know what you also got with those points?
I mean, yes.
You know what you also got? You got approval points that were greater than the points that you got that you would get from them being in a movie.
That's true. I drafted Reptile. I drafted Ava Quintero, who did not give me points.
Fair. You even got yourselves some like points because the creator of the group is Latino comic.
Yes.
Respected the gangster.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that, chasing a one and done movie appearances.
Yep.
That's rookie stuff. That's Toriano stuff.
No. Toriano stuff would be like, I'm drafting this character who may be one of the blue aliens in the trailer, but probably isn't, and his 47 children and grandchildren, and then they don't appear in the movie.
I mean, I'm just saying, you might be fine. Mm-hmm. Like, it'll probably come back to you unless a certain arch nemesis of yours decides just to,
Yeah, it's possible. Or maybe I have, 10 guaranteed points this week? I mean, I know it's obligatory, but 10-ish, semi-guaranteed points that maybe I can trade for something. We don't know. We don't know how this goes. Maybe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you never know.
All right. Well, that's how we're gonna start. That's how we're gonna start out the round, making your boy search for pictures of Craglet. Cool. Thanks, man.
Real cool. Make sure he looks real Latino in those pictures if you can. Just get his pictures. Just get Sean Gunn's pictures from Gilmore Girls. Just get the whitest possible version of Sean Gunn.
Oh man. Well, I mentioned this. I mentioned this in our little group text, but I'll mention it as well. Shout out to all the people who do fan art, and all the people who do cosplay. We're going to try to do as much as we can in the upcoming season, leading up to, but including the upcoming season, to feature the various fan artists and cosplayers for the respective characters that get drafted. And I'll do my best to try to like sprinkle bonus points for the people who do the work and find find the both the cosplays and the fan art that in some way, shape, or form depict your characters as racially drafted. So, be on the lookout. Listeners, if you're a part of a demographic and you want to help your demographic get points, send them our way. Tag us at racial draft pod or hashtag racial draft. Go ahead and put it at the bottom of the threads for the characters that have been drafted, and bring it to our attention. And I definitely in the upcoming season, but who knows? I mean, maybe it'll lead to some celebrities and some big time creatives giving us the nod, because we're always in favor of that kind of like cross promotion.
Yep. Absolutely.
And in general, this is a good time as any to talk about where you can find us on social media. You can find us on Instagram at racial.draft. You can find us on Facebook at racial draft. That's simple enough. You can find us on all your podcast platforms, which are probably where you're listening to us now. You can also find us on YouTube at the Racial Draft Podcast. And you can find us, of course, on Twitter at Racial Draft Pod. You can find Carlos at
Carlos Freites Jr. on Twitter. You can also find my writings at Agents of Fandom. Surprise, it was me we were talking about earlier. I'm the writer. Agentsoffandom.com.
Yes, and you can find me also on Twitter at MTFIII. Like I said, we are trying to keep growing this thing. We want to continue to expand the community. We want to continue to come up with interesting, creative takes on these characters as we continue to racially draft them, and we continue to sort of spin out the narratives and the fun that we have with imagining these characters in more diverse and more kind of outside of the box forms. I mean, we crack jokes for the creative decisions that get made, but we love the fact that people are exercising their creativity. So we're gonna keep doing that, and hopefully, as listeners, you're gonna keep enjoying it. But until next time, all things are possible.